In the biting December wind of Chicago, where the skyscrapers loomed like indifferent giants, Lila trudged through the snow-dusted streets, her thin sneakers soaking through. Her 6-month-old daughter, Emma, was bundled against her chest in a worn sling, the only thing keeping the baby warm. Lila's breath puffed out in fragile clouds, her fingers numb around the frayed straps of her backpack. The city's holiday lights twinkled cruelly, a reminder of a warmth and joy she couldn't afford. Her only coat, a threadbare wool thing she'd found at a thrift shop, hung loosely over her shoulders. It was her shield against the cold, but it was barely enough. Lila was 22, a runaway from a small town in Indiana, escaping a life that had chewed her up and spat her out. She'd come to Chicago with dreams of a fresh start, but the city was merciless. No job would take her without an address, no shelter had room, and her last dollar had bought a bottle of formula for Emma 2 days ago. Hunger gnawed at her, but she ignored it. Emma's soft gurgles were her anchor, her reason to keep moving. She'd been walking for hours, searching for a warm corner, a soup kitchen, anything, when she saw him. He was just a boy, maybe 8 or 9, sitting on a cardboard scrap in an alley off Michigan Avenue. His knees were pulled to his chest, his lips blue, his eyes dull with cold. He wore a tattered hoodie, too big for his skinny frame, and his sneakers were more holes than shoe. The wind howled, slicing through the alley, and he shivered so hard Lila thought he might break. Shoppers hurried past, their arms laden with bags, their faces turned away. Nobody stopped. Nobody saw. Lila's heart twisted. She knew that kind of cold, the kind that sank into your bones and made you forget what warmth felt like. She glanced at Emma, sleeping against her chest, then back at the boy. Her coat was all she had, her only defense against the freezing night ahead. But the boy had nothing. Without thinking too hard, because thinking would have stopped her, she slipped the coat off her shoulders. The cold hit her like a slap, but she knelt beside the boy, draping the coat over him. "Here," she said softly. "You need this more." The boy's eyes widened, his chapped lips parting. "But you'll freeze." Lila forced a smile, her teeth chattering. "I'll be okay. Keep it." He clutched the coat, his small hands trembling, and whispered, "Thank you." Lila stood, hugging Emma tighter, and walked away before she could second-guess herself. The wind clawed at her thin sweater, but she felt a strange warmth inside, like a candle flickering against the dark. She didn't know the boy's name, didn't know his story, but she knew she'd done something right. What Lila didn't know was that someone had seen her. Across the street, in a sleek black SUV idling at a traffic light, Michael Carter had watched the whole thing. Michael was 38, the CEO of Carter Tech, a Chicago-based company that built software for hospitals. He was rich, powerful, and perpetually busy, the kind of man who hadn't walked an alley in years. But today, he was in the back seat, heading to a gala, his driver navigating the holiday traffic. His phone was in his hand, emails piling up, when he glanced out the window and saw Lila give her coat to the boy. Michael froze. He'd grown up in foster care, scraping by on Chicago's South Side, and he knew what it looked like to have nothing. But this woman, she was clearly struggling, her baby strapped to her chest, and yet she'd given up her only coat. He watched her walk away, shivering, her head bent against the wind. Something stirred in him, a memory of a stranger who'd once slipped him a 20 when he was starving as a teenager. That 20 had kept him going. Now, he was the one with the power to change things. "Stop the car," he told his driver. The man glanced back, confused, but pulled over. Michael stepped out, his polished shoes crunching on the snow. He approached the boy, who was still clutching the coat, looking like he couldn't believe his luck. "Hey kid," Michael said, crouching down. "You okay?" The boy nodded, wary. "Yeah, she gave me this." He touched the coat like it was treasure. Michael's throat tightened. "What's your name?" "Tommy." "Where's your family, Tommy?" The boy's eyes dropped. "Don't got one. Been on my own a while." Michael's jaw clenched. He'd been Tommy once, alone and invisible. He pulled out his phone and called his assistant. "Get someone from social services to this alley. Now." Kid named Tommy, about 9. "Make sure he's taken care of." Then he slipped Tommy a business card with his personal number. "You need anything, you call me, okay?" Tommy nodded, still clutching the coat. Michael stood, scanning the street for Lila, but she was gone, swallowed by the city. He couldn't shake the image of her shivering, her baby pressed against her. He had to find her. Lila, meanwhile, was fighting her way through the cold, her arms aching from holding Emma. She'd found a shelter that let her in for the night, but it was crowded, the air thick with the smell of unwashed bodies and despair. She sat on a cot, feeding Emma the last of the formula, her stomach growling. The shelter worker, a tired woman named Marla, noticed her shivering and handed her a thin blanket. "You okay, hon?" Marla asked. Lila nodded, though her body screamed otherwise. "Just cold." Marla's eyes softened. "You're a good mom. Hang in there." Lila didn't feel like a good mom. She felt like she was failing Emma every day. But she held her daughter close, humming a lullaby, and tried to believe things would get better. Across town, Michael couldn't let it go. He'd canceled his gala appearance, his mind fixed on the woman and her baby. He called his head of security, a former cop named Dana. "I need you to find someone." Young woman, early 20s, with a baby. She was on Michigan Avenue an hour ago, gave her coat to a kid in an alley. Checked shelters, hospitals, anywhere she might have gone. Dana, used to Michael's impulsive requests, didn't ask questions. She got to work, tapping her network of contacts. By morning, she had a lead. A shelter on the west side had a woman matching Lila's description. Michael drove there himself, his heart pounding. He didn't know what he'd say, but he knew he had to do something. At the shelter, Lila was packing her backpack, preparing to leave. Emma was fussy, sensing her mother's exhaustion. Marla approached, her face odd. "Someone's here for you," she said. Lila frowned. "Me? Who?" Marla led her to the shelter's small office, where a man in a tailored coat stood. He was tall, with kind eyes and a face that looked like it didn't smile often but wanted to. Lila tensed, clutching Emma. "Who are you?" "I'm Michael Carter," he said, his voice gentle. "I saw what you did yesterday, giving your coat to that boy. I wanted to thank you." Lila blinked, confused. "Thank me? I didn't do anything special." "You did," Michael said firmly. "You gave up the only thing keeping you warm. For a stranger. That's not nothing." Lila shifted, uncomfortable. He needed it more. Michael studied her, seeing the pride in her eyes, the stubborn set of her jaw. He'd planned to offer her money, a job, something practical. But looking at her, he saw someone who didn't want pity. She wanted a chance. "I run a company," he said. "Carter Tech. We're always looking for good people. I don't know your story, but I'd like to offer you a job. Entry level, front desk, but it's steady. Comes with benefits, childcare. A place to start." Lila stared, her mind reeling. A job? Childcare? It sounded like a dream, but dreams had burned her before. "Why me?" she asked, her voice sharp. "You don't even know me." Michael hesitated, then said, "Because I was that boy once. Someone helped me, and it changed everything. Let me help you." Lila's eyes stung, but she blinked the tears back. She wanted to say no, to protect her pride, but she looked at Emma, at the tiny hands reaching for her. This wasn't just about her anymore. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll try." Michael smiled, a real one this time. "Good. There's an apartment near the office, company-owned. It's yours if you want it. No strings." Lila's breath caught. An apartment. A job. It was too much, too fast, but she nodded, her throat too tight to speak. Weeks later, Lila stood at the front desk of Carter Tech, her hair neat, her clothes new, Emma in daycare downstairs. She was nervous, but she was learning how to answer phones, manage schedules, be part of something. Michael checked in on her sometimes, always respectful, never pushing. He'd also followed up on Tommy, who was in a foster home now, with Michael quietly covering his expenses. One day, Lila saw Tommy again. Michael had brought him to the office, showing him around, talking about computers. The boy was wearing her old coat, patched but clean, and he ran to her when he saw her. "You're the lady," Tommy said, grinning. "I still got your coat." Lila laughed, kneeling to hug him. "Looks good on you." Michael watched, his chest tight. He'd built a company, made millions, but this, Lila's smile, Tommy's laugh, this was what mattered. Lila caught his eye, and for the first time, she smiled at him, too, a silent thank you. The city outside was still cold, still hard, but in that moment, it felt a little warmer, a little kinder. Lila, Tommy, and Michael weren't family, not exactly, but they were connected now, bound by a single act of selflessness that had rippled outward, changing everything.